Skinny spazoid. Intimidating and known as a real tough guy, Josip Broz Tito, the leader of Yugoslavia, was a military giant. Surviving through the most violent part of history on the front lines, Tito served in World War I and II and did not shy from controversy in the Cold War. Despite this harrowing part of his identity, Tito is actually considered as the #1 reason that there wasn't more violence in Yugoslavia, a country rife with ethnic tension. Tito is often considered a benevolent dictator. From this perspective, we can see Tito as a kind of atlas, holding his country together single-handedly as it inevitably will drop into the chaos of space. These are the 10 most fascinating facts about the titanic figure that was Tito. Number 10. Young Sergeant Major. After being drafted into the military, Tito became what was at the time the youngest Sergeant Major in the Austrian-Hungarian military, a distinguished accomplishment for a man who would later become the leader of his own country. This achievement shows the level of dedication and seriousness that Tito had in efficiently climbing up the social ladder to power. Number 9. Capture in World War I. This is actually an amazing story that sounds like it's out of a Hollywood movie or a superhero comic. Tito was captured in World War I by the Russian Imperial Army. He was sent to a work camp in the Ural Mountains. He actually participated in the October Revolution and actually managed to join a Russian Red Guard unit in Omsk, Russia. Returning home, he found out that he was in fact a part of a new country, Yugoslavia, and joined the Communist Party. Number 8. Decorated. In his lifetime, Tito gained dozens, and that's not an exaggeration, of awards and titles. Tito gained the Order of the National Hero and the Order of the Yugoslav Great Star, among other many prestigious awards from his native country in Yugoslavia. He also received many awards from other countries, which were often the highest honor that could be given to a foreigner, including the Order of the Aztec Eagle from Mexico and the Order of the White Lion from the Czech Republic, received 2 times, amongst many others. Number 7. Sociable Leader. Although Tito had a reputation of a tough guy, he was actually very sociable and known personally by many world leaders. He often made deals and alliances with people and was genuinely well-liked. Just like with the awards, it would be meaningless to sit through every single name of a recognizable person that he knew, but here are just some. Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, John F. Kennedy, Kim Il-sung, Che Guevara, Yasser Arafat. Number 6. Authoritarian. Tito is often considered an authoritarian leader. His repression of political opponents was known to be brutal. Tito, in effect, had a monopoly on authority in Yugoslavia. He was the boss and wouldn't accept anyone challenging him too much. His authority lasted with him basically until he died. Number 5. Liberator. Tito was vigorously anti-fascist in World War II and liberated territories during this time. Most famously, he liberated the Republic of Uzice, a territory which was around modern-day Serbia. Tito also made it his business to help Jewish people into safety and even took many of them as soldiers. Number 4. Split from Stalin. Tito and Stalin had an extreme rivalry that happened for many reasons. Firstly, it started because Russia and Yugoslavia both were fighting against Germans independently. Tensions escalated as Tito had made decisions that Stalin would eventually not be okay with, including bullying the US in order to gain Italian territory and taking sides with Greek communists in the Greek Civil War. Stalin famously said that he would lift his pinky finger and there would be no more Tito. What he really did was cut Yugoslavia off from all other communist countries connected to Russia. Tito managed quite well, even though this happened, either by taking what he wanted from these countries anyways, or from his complicated social connections. After this, Stalin sent several assassins to kill Tito, all of which failed. Tito famously wrote to Stalin, "Stop sending people to kill me, we've already captured 5 of them, one of them with a bomb and another with a rifle. And if you don't stop sending killers, I'll send one to Moscow and I won't have to send a second." Which is, incredibly awesome. It's really badass that he did that. Number 3, leader of the anti-Axis movement, Partisans. The Yugoslav Partisans were a communist, anti-fascist movement in occupied Yugoslavia. The commander of this resistance was none other than Marshal Josip Broz Tito. This movement is often considered the most successful anti-fascist movement in an occupied territory. Having the movement become communist was a genius move by Tito, as the spirit of the Yugoslav people rose as they saw that they really had enough power to win. Several offensives took place, and the movement was supported by the Allies in World War II. Make no mistake, this was a real army of around 800,000 soldiers, with an air force and a navy, and the emotional influence it had on the people can be seen in the folk poems of the region. Number 2, won election by a landslide. Looking back at history, we often think to ourselves, how could anyone ever want that guy to be in charge? In the case of Tito, and even in the case of Stalin and Hitler, the truth is that the people at the time were completely swayed by these figures and strongly supported them. When involved in elections, Tito won the support of the people by a landslide. After World War II, Tito had agreed to hold post-war elections for what type of government his country would have. Tito ran for Tito's pro-Republic People's Front, led by the Communist Party of Yugoslavia, and crushed all of his opponents in the election. Number 1, kept Yugoslavia together. The greatest effect that Tito had on the world was that he was able to keep a country together that otherwise was potentially completely run amok. Yugoslavia was a disaster waiting to happen, as the country was formed with many different ethnic groups that hated each other. Tito promoted the idea of brotherhood and unity, and it worked while he was alive. His tough decision-making made it so that the people who most suffered when he was in charge were the rival politicians going against him, and not the people themselves. After his death in 1980, the country went through an incredibly tense time period until the regions he was in charge of turned to a series of ethnic-fueled wars that lasted for years. The impact of these wars still hovers over these countries even today.